Perek Gimel. We're at the Psak Din of Shloimeh, where he rules in the dispute between the two women, the two Shtei Zainais, who come with a single live baby, each one claiming that the baby is theirs. And we learn in Pasuk Chav Daled, Vayomer HaMelech K'chuli Charev, that Shloimeh HaMelech orders that a sword be brought to him. Vayaviu HaCharev L'fnei HaMelech, and they bring a sword to the king. Vayomer HaMelech Gizru Es HaYelad HaChai L'shnoyim, slice the living child into two. Usenu Es HaChatzi La'achas V'es HaChatzi La'achas. Give half the baby to one woman who claims to be the mother, and the other half to the other. And says Shloimeh HaMelech, that's a fair psak. Divide the baby, achloiku. Divide the baby in half. So what was the response of the women? V'tomer ha'isha shebeno hachai el HaMelech. The true mother, ki nichmeru rachmeha, who's albina, who felt birachmanis, who felt terrible that a child should be killed. V'tomer biyadini tinu lo es hayolad achai. Give the living child to her, v'hameis al tamisu, rather than to kill him. V'zaysay meres, the other woman said, Gam li, gam lach, la yiyeh, let the child belong to neither of us. Gezayru, slice the child in half. Vayan HaMelech v'yaymer, tenulas hayolod, hachai, v'hameis le'semisu, hi'imai. And this is, as I say, the famous psak of Shloimeh HaMelech, that now it's been revealed who the true mother is. Naturally, the true mother is the one who had Rahmanis and didn't want a child to be killed. And this was a psak din, an incident, which, as you could all understand, was well publicized in Klal Yisrael. And as a result, the fame that Shloimeh HaMelech got from this incident, so what happened was, the pasuk tells us, "Vayishmu kol yisroel hamishpat asher shafat HaMelech, vayiru mipnei HaMelech." People had great ema, great fear for Shloimeh. Ki ro, ki chochmas elikim b'kirbay laseis mishpat. They saw the great wisdom that he had, laseis mishpat, to pass this judgment. So what we've come to the psak of Shloimeh, which is, as we know, a famous psak. I don't think it's a surprise to anyone here. But what will be a surprise to you tonight is the way many of the achrayim, even some of the later rishonim, how they look at this psak, where the world repeats Shloimeh HaMelech's psak, chop the child in half, as a wondrous thought, a tremendous idea. And yet, there are some who are matmiyah, who wonder, and who is cautious on this. To begin, the netziv in Hamik Shaila, Simin Kuf Ayin Aleph, at the end of Sivkat Yud. That's the very last piece in the netziv, the very last piece at the end of Hamik Shaila. And the netziv writes there, the last piece is something I once went through, because it deals with the question of a shechiyanu, when one completes a sefer. Netziv was completing a tremendous work, the Hamik Shaila. So he wrote at the end, in his last arichos, a discussion of the issue of shechiyanu, and there he digresses to the psak din here of Shloimeh HaMelech. And the netziv asks, L'chayra ein b'zeh shemetz din u'mishpat. What's happening? The pasuk says that the people saw chachmas elakim b'kirbay lasos mishpat. He says l'chayra ein b'zeh shemetz din u'mishpat. There was no din, there was no mishpat, there was no yediyas haTorah that was necessary for what Shloimeh HaMelech did. Umay ka'amar ki ro ki chachmas elakim b'kirbay lasos mishpat. So that's the first kasha. How is this a mishpat? The Gemara in Makis and Avchav Gimel Amid Beis says that there were 3 times in history that Haifiya Ruach HaKodesh bebezdin Shalmata. There were 3 times that Ruach HaKodesh, that a Baskel came out of heaven at a Bezdin, at a Psak Din of a Bezdin. And the 3rd case was our Psak Din. The Gemara says, Vidilma Harume Kamarim. The Gemara asks a question. How do you know the mother is the one who had Rachmanis? Dilma Harume Kamarim. Maybe she was faking. Maybe it was a harama, it was a trick. If it was just a harama, it was just a trick, maybe she wasn't the mother. She acted like she had Rachmanis. So the Gemara says, Yatsa Baskail. A Baskail came out, Vaifiya bebezdin shel Shloimeh, and it said, He imai. And everyone heard that Shloimeh HaMelech was right, He imai. As I state in the Gemara, it sounds like a tremendous support of Shloimeh HaMelech. Says the netziv, what do you mean? The Gemara says just the opposite. The Gemara says, Dilma Harume Kamarim. The Gemara says that Shloimeh HaMelech's trick was not really good. You needed a Baskail to say that he was right. It seems that the Gemara is assuming that the trick Shloimeh HaMelech used is not conclusive. In the words of the netziv, Iker Havchana Eina Machras. The main trick, the act that Shloimeh HaMelech had done, Eina Machras, is not proof. Kedisa b'makis daf chav gimel v'dilma harume kamarim. V'zed imifaresh ha-gemara yatsa baskel. And this which the Gemara answers, that a baskel came out for Amra, he imai, and said, yes, that's his mother. Abel mekamakai. Shloimeh pasak hachi loy mishum baskel. Shloimeh didn't paskin this way because the baskel came out. He paskin this based on his own logic. The Gemara seems to be telling us Shloimeh's logic was not conclusive. It was not right. Dilma Harume Kamarim. A baskel had to come out. But from the Shloimeh's end of the deal, it seems that Shloimeh's end of the deal was nothing conclusive at all. So this is the second kasha of the netziv. I'll mention to you also Reb Chaim Kanievsky in Taima Dekra in the Yisroel. He's also matmiya. He wonders at Shloimeh HaMelech's psak. He writes, Ha'isha sha'amra gam li gam lach lo yiyeh amra shtus. The woman who said, let the child go to neither of us, cut the baby in half, what she said was foolishness. We all know that. Ma hoya Shloimeh haisa ima isha haisa pikris. What would Shloimeh have done if this had not worked? If she had been a pikeach? So these, and I'll mention to you soon others who are matmiya on the psak of Shloimeh HaMelech. And basically, we have 2 mahalchim, 2 ways that we'll discuss tonight to explain the psak din of Shloimeh. One, the mahalach of the netziv is al pi halacha, strictly al pi pilpul d'oraisa. And the second mahalach, which we'll discuss, is more al pi hashkafa. First, the netziv. Now you have to remember, I mentioned to you once that there was a din Torah over who inherits the right to the yeshiva in Volozhin between the Beis Halevi and the netziv. The Beis Halevi was the mefalpel, was the Baal Pilpul. The netziv, his reputation was not as a Baal Pilpul, it was a very glatt, straight mahalech. So it's coming from this netziv. The netziv wrote Hamik Shaila. The netziv was married at the age of 14 and a half. And he lived in the house of his father-in-law. His father-in-law was Reb Itzla Volozhiner, the son of Reb Chaim Volozhiner, the Rosh Hashiva. And no one knew of the greatness of the netziv. He lived quietly in his father-in-law's house. He was a boy who sat and learned. His greatness was not known, as sometimes happens with fathers-in-laws and son-in-laws. And during the years that he lived in his father-in-law's house, he wrote the Pirish, the Hamik Shaila. And it was only after the Hamik Shaila was printed that Yatsa Shmai Ba'alam, that he became well known. And here, at the end of Hamik Shaila, the very last piece, he gives us a tremendous insight into the Psak Din, the technical accuracy of this Psak Din of Shlomo HaMelech. And he says the following. There's a Gemara in Bava Kama, Daf Pei Aleph Amid Beis. The Gemara doesn't discuss our sugya. The Gemara simply states the following. It says, Mahalchin b'shvilei harishus Shlomo Amra. Shlomo HaMelech made a takana of Mahalchin b'shvilei harishus. What is the takana of Mahalchin b'shvilei harishus? Kedetanya. Hare shekalu peiraisav min asada. You own a field. You've harvested all the peiris, whatever produce you had to take out of the field. The field is now empty and barren. And now people want to take a shortcut through your field. And you don't let them. You stop them from walking through your field. How do people assess the owner of a field which is empty? He loses nothing if people take a shortcut through the field. Why do people, how do I assess this person? They say, so people say, why does it hurt him? Why doesn't he let people walk through his field? So Shlomo HaMelech made a takana that in the case of Zeh Nehena V'Zeh Einay Chaser, which means it's a situation where someone taking a shortcut through the field is Nehena, he gains. V'Zeh Einay Chaser, the owner of the field loses nothing. So Shlomo HaMelech said, Mahalchin b'shvilei harishus, that the owner of the field should let people walk through his property. And the Gemara brings a pasuk in Mishlei, Perek Gimel, Al timna toiv miba'olav, b'hiyais le'el yadcha la'asais. Don't hold back toiv, don't hold back good things from others. If it's la'el yadecha, if you have the power in your hands to do it. So the Gemara says, who made the original takana? That in a case of Zeh Nehena V'Zeh Lo Chaser, that if you have a situation where someone could benefit and it's no loss to you, that you're supposed to let him have the benefit. Who made that takana? Shlomo HaMelech. That's what it says in the Gemara in Bava Kama. So I think this phrase is well known. Zeh Nehena V'Zeh Lo Chaser. Situation where one person could gain. He could take a shortcut through the other person's field. V'Zeh Lo Chaser, and the other one has no loss by letting him walk through the field. So the takana was to let the Nehena, let him have Hana. Says the netziv, this takana of Zeh Nehena V'Zeh Lo Chaser, you know when the takana was spelled out by Shlomo HaMelech? You know when he said this takana? Right here. Now listen to this psak. Shlomo HaMelech said, Gezayru es hayeled. He said, cut the baby in half. So one woman said, Gamli, Gamloch lo yeh. I agree, Gezayru. The baby shouldn't be not yours and not mine. Cut the baby in half. So Shlomo HaMelech got up and he said, give the baby to the other woman. You know why? Because now it remains a situation of Zeh Nehena V'Zeh Lo Chaser. Because even it doesn't matter who the real mother is, Klape Shmaya Galia. It might be Dilma Arume Kamarim. Maybe the other one who said, don't cut the baby is faking. But al pi halacha, one woman said gezayru, one woman said cut the baby in half. So now she's loy chaser. If instead of cutting the baby in half, we take the baby and give it to the other woman, so she's a loy chaser. So it's Zeh Nehena V'Zeh Lo Chaser. This other woman will have hana, she'll get the baby. This woman is a Zeh Lo Chaser. So give the baby to that woman. So that was the psak din of Shlomo HaMelech. It was a din u'mishpat. It was a halacha. He wasn't saying, I know that this is the mother. That the Baskel said, he imay. He was saying, al pi halacha, technically it's correct to give the baby to the other woman. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful psak that answers both questions, the two questions of the netziv. The netziv said, Ein by shemetz din u'mishpat. No, it's din u'mishpat. It's a case of zenehen of Netiv chaser. The second question, Dilma arume kamarim. Maybe the woman is faking. She says, don't cut the baby. She's making believe she's the mother. It doesn't matter. Even if she is faking it out, it would not matter. She's entitled to the baby because the other woman is willing to give the baby up. So what remains, zenehen of Netiv chaser. So it's beautiful. Psak din al pi halacha. No, I asked this question last week. Did anybody mechaven to this teretz? No. It's a shtickle pilpul, even though it comes from the netziv. But it's a nice einfall. Now he adds that the Baskel came out and said he imay. Because there are two things. One is that a dayan is supposed to try to be mechaven al pi halacha. Then there's a special siyata d'shmaya that he should get it right. Even if it's right al pi din, that he should give it to the right mother. So for that, the Baskel came out and it said, he imay. Not only is he right al pi halacha, but he's accurate. This is the mother. Let's stop for a minute and look at the din of zenehen of Netiv chaser. And it would seem at first glance that we have a bit of a problem. Zenehen of Netiv chaser is mentioned in numerous places.